Sunday's World Cup Soccer Championship may have broken TV records, but for the women who play the sport, it won't come close to pay records. The women's soccer players earn far less than the men, even when the men lose. Here to talk about the economic factors at play is Mike Bako. He is the sports managing editor of the DailyNational.com, a frequent guest to Arise Xchange. Thank you for joining us
Absolutely.
as well. A terrific World Cup, of course, for everyone who played. To walk us through the pay discrepancy, well, first, what are they going to earn for winning? Let's start with that.
Well, what they're going to earn for winning is hopefully on the back end in terms of sponsorship deals. You see someone like Carrie Lloyd coming out of that finals game on the tip of everyone's tongues, on the tip of every marketer's tongue. So she needs to strike while the iron is hot. There are other established players, Morgan and Wamba, who already went into this World Cup with name recognition. So if you see the three of them coming out of this with some sponsorship deals and really building their brand as they go forward.
And they split, what, $2 million for winning, which is not a lot for everybody on the team.
It's not a lot for everyone on the team, and it's not a lot compared to what the men get. And certainly we've discussed what's been going on with FIFA over the last few months. So when there's billions of dollars on the men's side of the game, when you think about $2 million, that's a pittance.
Is this simply because the sponsorship dollars aren't as high for women's sports in general and for women's FIFA? Or did FIFA just do a horrible job at selling sponsorships because Sepp Blatter in the past hasn't been exactly a cheerleader for the women?
He would probably want them to be dressed as cheerleaders. in terms of his
bad comment on my part.
His ideas of growing the female audience in game, wearing shorter shorts and sexier outfits. Putting that Mr. Blatter aside, I think probably what you're looking at is that you need to see this as a progression. This, a couple of years ago with the U.S. team from the men's side making their way, hopefully for the following World Cup, that's when you'll see sponsors get more involved. That's when you see interest peak even more. I think this will be a good, firm foundation for possibly moving forward into 4 years from now for the next Women's World Cup. And can they grow that over the next 4 years? It's going to be tough, though, because there's no real foundation for a league here.
Well, I was about to ask you. So the men have a place to go both in Europe, throughout the entire world now, and even in the MLS here, which of course the pay is much less in the MLS than it is in Europe, but the women don't have really a place to go, do they?
They don't really have a place to go, and when you look at what their salaries are like, when you look at a league like the Women's League, where the salary cap is $265,000. What that speaks to is lack of interest, lack of TV partners, lack of sponsorships, the fields and the stadiums where they're playing in. So it's a cumulative effect.
I've often wondered, can they afford to even be on the national team? I mean, how do they pay their bills on a day-to-day basis?
Well, that's where you have to hope that you actually win that $2 million spread among a bunch of players. But then that's when you look at, what are you doing outside of playing? Are you doing clinics? Are you doing other sponsorships where we're not looking at a major Landon Donovan type of sponsorship or Hope Solo type sponsorship, although she's on shaky ground now as well, but where you're just
because of some domestic problems
domestic problems outside, she may be a little bit toxic for some of the sponsors. She's actually one of the losers coming out of all of the World Cup, along with some of the officials from the Women's Federation that allowed her to play, but that might be for a different topic. But when you look at what the players, how they monetize, they're going to monetize on
if she was, I will say this on the inequality side, if we're talking about a male player here, there is no way she would have taken the field because of all the domestic violence issues that we've had in the U.S.
Certainly, if you took her word for it, may have had some wiggle room, man versus women, but when you see the extra reporting that came out from ESPN, when you saw her sister-in-law, nephew, the things that were going on there, certainly that should have been the final straw for her.
They're going to get a parade apparently in New York.
They're going to get a parade in New York City. So when you get an event in Los Angeles where they came from...
The Canyon of Heroes, which is where the Yankees have paraded down, the Rangers have paraded down, one of the most famous locations in the
General
world.
Norman Schwarzkopf coming back from Desert Storm, that you are in an elite company when that happens. Now, here's where it gets a little bit tricky. What happens if you throw a parade and no one shows up?
People in New York are showing up.
People will show up, but the great grandeur of these parades, you talk about the inflated numbers of 2.5 million.
But they never get to 2.5 million. They never you can't fit that many people on the island.
Right. So it's a great honor, and whether 100,000 show up or whether 1 million show up, it's a great honor and it's a great stepping stone.
So the next question, though, is will this ignite excitement for female soccer in the United States to take it to the next level, even when you're talking on the high school level?
Well, I think soccer, one of their problems that they're facing is the same problem that football is facing, and the concussions and the injuries that are happening on this level. I think that women will still play. I think that this is more of a U.S. focus, that we're good at something, so we all rally around it. I don't think it'll transfer
Final
over.
question. If you head an organization and you can't make it to your premier sport because you're afraid you're going to get arrested, do you need to go? Sepp Blatter refused to come?
Yes, I think that you do need to go, and I think that will be one of the final pushes out the door for him.
Interesting. Mike Bako, thank you as always.
Thank you.